Now let's take a look at the library tab. So as I said, when you first log in to learning.com, you're going to see all of your classes showing here on this dashboard. If you look up at the top right, you will see a library tab. So if you click on library, you'll notice that the first thing you see is choose a learning path. This year we're going to use the student-driven learning path. So you will select the grade level that you would like to look at. So we'll just start with kinder. And it says to select a sequence. So when you click here, you want to choose the student-driven learning path. This is to look at the library of lessons that your students will be seeing in their learning.com accounts. So once you've chosen your grade level, the student-driven learning path, you're going to choose Let's Go. Okay, so from here, you're going to see the order of lessons or activities that your students will be completing. Notice that the title of the lesson is clickable, so you could click on that lesson. It will give you a little bit of information over what your students will be learning, kind of what the goals are for that lesson. So that you can kind of go over those with your students and make sure that they're understanding what they are working on. If you wanted to look at the standards, you could do that here. It's also going to give you, again, tell you the estimated time for completion. All of the lessons that are automatically assigned to students this year are going to be auto-scored, so you don't have to worry about grading any of those. It's also going to tell you if it is available in just English or English and Spanish. You do not need to click the assign button because remember we have already automatically assigned all of these lessons to your students, so there's no need for you to assign anything. You can view the lesson by clicking the launch lesson option here, and it's going to load and show you exactly what your students are going to see in their learning.com. Or you can also view the lesson by, instead of clicking on the title of the lesson, if you scroll over, you can click view. And this will open a new tab for you, and it will show you the exact lesson that your students will see. You can click play. Click again to pause. And students will also have the option to have a little bit of accessibility features if they need them. If your students need to have subtitles on to be able to read what the narrator is saying, they can choose either English or Spanish subtitles. And they can also turn the playback speed down a little bit to where the lesson goes a little bit slower, so that it's not going. So if they need it, a little bit more time to understand or listen to what is happening in the lesson. So students do have this option. So we'll close that out. Some of the lessons will have multiple screens, so they'll use the arrow button to arrow over to the next piece of the lesson. Then to close out, they'll click the X. It's going to save their progress. So if they're in the middle of the lesson and class is over, once they exit, they'll start the same spot they left off at in the next class. So they don't have to worry about saving or getting to a certain point before it saves. So we're going to exit there. Again, you do not need to click this assign button. These lessons are already assigned to your students. Now notice each grade level may have something that looks a little bit different. So those of you like at the elementary campuses, your first and second grade are going to have the same lesson as kinder. So all of them will see the same exact lesson. But once they get to, let's say, third grade, it's going to look just a little bit different, and the order of their lesson is going to also be a little bit different. So as you can see, they have some different lessons, assessments, and even some application exercises where they're going to actually get to apply what they learned in the lesson. So just like those at the pre-K through second grade, you can click the view option for each lesson, and it's going to show you everything that your students are going to go over. It kind of gives you a little lesson plan to let you know exactly what your students will need to know by the end of that lesson. It even gives you some support materials if you would like to use those as well.